You could call Sid Melton the rabbit's foot of Lippert Pictures. In 3 years, he appeared in 18 films for him, always as comedy relief. He played a cowboy, an Asian American, a mail-order detective, and a cabbie, amongst others. Despite his light-hearted appearance on the screen, Sid Melton took his job very seriously, and he became very successful at it.
That Brooklyn accent is no act from Sid Melton. He came from the home of Ebbets Field, for those old enough to remember the Dodgers before they moved west. His name was Sidney Meltzer. His father was a stage comedian. His brother Louis would become a screenwriter, with films like The Man with the Golden Arm and The Brothers Rico among his credits. Sid changed his name to Melton, and thanks to his brother's success as a writer, he had worked on Golden Boy and Rita Hayworth's first starring film, The Lady in Question, where he created a character played by Glenn Ford, who in real life would become Rita's most frequent co-star and friend. In fact, the house that Ford lived in Beverly Hills was built on property sold to him by Rita. Melton got an interview with MGM and wound up with a part in Shadow of the Thin Man, fourth of the William Powell Myrna Loy classics. And if you're a fan of the series, you'll know that Melton fit right in with the zany characters that Nick Charles associated with. His next appearance was in another series film, the Blondie series, called Blondie Goes to College, with Penny Singleton as Blondie and Arthur Lake as Dagwood. Melton got small jobs in several films through the 40s. Late in the decade, he found work in a couple of majors, appearing in Bogart's Knock on Any Door. He later said how much he liked and admired Bogey. They had one scene together in the film. Bogey played an attorney who was questioning Melton's character, sort of a shady guy he normally played, and although Melton had the more showy part of the scene, Bogart agreed with it, despite the fact that Bogey was the superstar and in this case the producer of the film. Melton was in Cagney's White Heat, playing a prisoner. It was interesting seeing the diminutive Cagney and the equally diminutive Melton on the screen together. After White Heat, Melton met Robert Lippert, who offered him a part in The Treasure of Monte Cristo, which was filmed in San Francisco. Upon completion, Melton, who was in a nightclub review at Ciro's, was hired for a role as a cowboy in Tough Assignment. Ironically enough, Marjorie Steele, the co-star of Tough Assignment, was working as a cigarette girl at Ciro's around the same time Melton was performing there. Steele would meet billionaire and A&P heir Huntington Hartford while working at Ciro's and eventually married him. At the same time, to get Steele work in Hollywood, Huntington Hartford loaned producer Donald Barry $25,000 interest-free so long as Marjorie Steele would appear in the film. Anyway, after completing the role, Melton went back to New York and did a show. He made the trip by bus for only $40, including meals. In the Big Apple, Melton was once again spotted by a Lippert representative, and Lippert would offer him a contract. And Melton accepted. And to celebrate, he made the cross-country return trip by train. It took 2 days less. Of the 18 Lippert appearances, Melton remembers most of them taking only 5 days to film. And in many instances, Melton wrote his own dialogue. Melton's personal favorite film was Lost Continent. It had a better budget and a bigger part, and it took 11 days to film. Another memorable Melton performance in a Lippert film was in The Steel Helmet, the first directorial effort of a young World War II soldier and newspaperman named Samuel Fuller. Melton earned $140 a week working for Lippert. In fact, when Lippert loaned Melton to Paramount to make The Lemon Drop Kid with Bob Hope, Lippert got the Paramount money, and Melton still only got his $140. Yet Melton remembers that Lippert tried to get him to pay income tax on the whole lump sum that Lippert got from Paramount. After his tenure at Lippert ended, Melton went on to become a regular in the early sci-fi television series Captain Midnight, with Richard Webb in the title role. And interestingly enough, the show was sponsored by Ovaltine, who not only owned the rights to the show, but the name to Captain Midnight as well. And when the show went into syndication, Ovaltine, no longer sponsoring the show, refused to let the syndicator take the name without paying a rights fee. So the syndicator never blinked and changed the name of the character to Jet Jackson and looped over any Captain Midnight dialogue to reflect Jet Jackson. That gave a lot of dubbing work to Melton. Perhaps Sid Melton was best known for his role in the Danny Thomas show Make Room for Daddy, where he played Charlie Halper, the proprietor of the Copa Club, where Thomas performed. Melton reprised that part in Make Room for Granddaddy in the 70s. He also was a semi-regular in Green Acres, playing Alf Monroe, the incompetent carpenter, and played a regular role in The Golden Girls.
Sid Melton was a very prolific supporting actor. His other appearances included Bo James in The Lady Sings the Blues. He did get to play the lead in the film, though. It was called Stop That Cab, and it depicted the trials and tribulations of a cab driver and the assorted characters he encountered during his workday. If that sounds familiar, it should be. That plot became the basis for the successful TV show Taxi.